You ever notice how the Jedi and the Sith act like they're on completely different sides of the moral spectrum? One side talks about peace and harmony, the other talks about passion and power. But the more you actually watch them operate, the more you realize they're basically running the same playbook. Different uniforms, same game plan. It's like Pepsi and Coke arguing over who's more refreshing, while both are just sugar water. The Jedi will sweep into a war zone, lightsabers flashing, talking about protecting the innocent, and then 5 minutes later, they're commanding battalions of clone troopers to blast the enemy into next week. The Sith show up, promising liberation from Jedi control, and within a month, they've got stormtroopers patrolling every street corner. I mean, if you swapped the color schemes, most people wouldn't even notice the change. And the way they recruit is straight out of the same handbook. Find someone young, preferably still figuring out who they are, and tell them you've got the one true path to greatness. Jedi call it training the next generation. Sith call it molding an apprentice. Either way, it's a nice way of saying, congratulations, you're about to dedicate your entire life to our cause, no take back. Even their leadership styles are eerily alike. The Jedi Council speaks in vague riddles and half-answers, like they're allergic to clarity. The Sith do the exact same thing, except they add dramatic pauses and a menacing glare. And in both cases, the poor apprentice is left piecing together what's really going on, like it's some kind of cosmic escape room. The real kicker is that both believe their way is the only way. The Jedi will quietly dismantle anything that challenges their balance. The Sith will openly crush anything that threatens their freedom. Strip away the fancy language, and it's just two sides obsessed with control, each convinced they're the hero in the story. In this video, we're going to dig into why the Jedi and Sith are way more alike than they'd ever admit. We'll look at how they recruit, how they lead, and how their supposed moral opposites are just reflections in different colored robes. We'll break down the tactics, the manipulation, and the uncomfortable truth that maybe good and evil aren't as far apart as Star Wars wants you to think. And by the end, you might never see either side the same way again. You ever notice that for two groups supposedly locked in an eternal battle of good versus evil, the Jedi and the Sith sure have a lot in common. The Jedi wear beige and talk about balance. The Sith wear black and talk about power. But underneath all that branding, both are obsessed with shaping the galaxy into what they think it should be, and the way they go about it. Well, it's not as different as they'd like you to believe. Both start with kids. The Jedi call it training younglings. The Sith call it taking on an apprentice. But either way, it's recruiting someone before they've had the chance to develop their own worldview. The Jedi will whisk a Force-sensitive child away to Coruscant before the parents can even pack a lunch. The Sith will lure a gifted student in with promises of freedom and greatness. It's the same playbook, just with different speeches. Then there's the whole code thing. The Jedi code says no attachments, no emotions, and definitely no fun. The Sith code says embrace your passion, seek power, and, if possible, overthrow your boss. Both claim their rules are the only path to true understanding. Neither seems to allow much room for individuality. Even the way they talk to their followers is similar. Jedi Masters dispense cryptic wisdom and half-truths, like they're allergic to giving a straight answer. Sith Lords do the same, just with more dramatic lighting. And in both cases, the student is left guessing the full truth until it's either too late or far too dangerous to act on it. It's almost like the Jedi and Sith are two rival companies selling the same product. The only difference is the packaging. What's really annoying is how both groups swear they're nothing like the other. The Jedi stand up in their pristine temples talking about peace, while conveniently ignoring that their peacekeeping often involves leading armies into battle. The Sith scoff at the Jedi for being hypocrites, all while they themselves play galactic dictator whenever the opportunity comes knocking. It's a pot and kettle situation, with extra light. The Jedi Council loves to claim moral high ground, but then you remember Order 66 didn't just happen overnight. Years of arrogance, political manipulation, and secret missions pushed them into the perfect position to be wiped out. And even after centuries of experience, they still walked right into Palpatine's trap, which, honestly, makes them look less like wise monks and more like clueless bureaucrats. The tragedy is how many lives get caught in the middle of their rivalry. Entire worlds burned because a Jedi and Sith decided to settle a personal score on the surface. Families shattered when a child is taken for training, whether it's to wear brown robes or black armor. No one asks those families if they wanted their kid turned into a weapon for someone else's war. Think about Anakin Skywalker, taken from his mother at 9 years old, told to abandon attachment, and then constantly put in situations where he was expected to risk everything for people he barely knew. The Jedi never saw the emotional damage piling up. The Sith just exploited it. And in the end, the galaxy lost both the man and the hope he represented. Or considered Dooku, once a respected Jedi Master. He became disillusioned with the Order's hypocrisy. But instead of finding a way to reform it, he swung to the opposite extreme and embraced the Sith. The ideals may have changed, but the cycle of manipulation remained. It was just a different master pulling the strings. Even the clones weren't spared. Raised to obey the Jedi without question, then forced by implanted orders to kill them. Neither side thought to give these soldiers real autonomy. They were pawns on a board, sacrificed in a game they didn't choose to play. For all their talk of destiny, the Jedi and Sith both leave a trail of broken people behind them. And the worst part is, they seem to accept it as part of the cost. But you can't deny the power these two groups wield. The Jedi can deflect blaster bolts with casual flicks of the wrist. The Sith can unleash lightning from their fingertips like it's nothing. Watching Yoda flip through the air or Vader crush a corridor full of enemies is as jaw-dropping as it is terrifying. Both have mastered the Force in ways that bend the rules of reality. Jedi heal wounds, sense danger before it happens, and move objects the size of starfighters. Sith twist those same abilities into weapons of raw destruction, shattering walls, choking enemies from across a room, and bending others to their will. It's the same skill set, tuned to different frequencies. Their legacies are carved into the galaxy's history. The Jedi built temples that became symbols of peace and order. The Sith forged fortresses that radiated power and intimidation. Even their artifacts, lightsabers, holocrons, armor carry an aura of legend. People fear them, admire them, or both. And the charisma. Oh, the charisma. Mace Windu commanding troops into battle with a glare. Palpatine charming the entire Senate into giving him absolute control. It's impossible not to be impressed by how effectively they inspire loyalty, even when that loyalty is doomed. It's awe mixed with dread. Because when two forces this capable are locked in endless conflict, the galaxy is just the stage for their next performance. Still, there are moments where you see the possibility for something better. Times when Jedi and Sith alike step outside their rigid codes and act out of genuine compassion or understanding. Qui-Gon Jinn rejecting the Council's short-sightedness. Darth Vader turning back to the light to save his son. These aren't rule-following moments, they're human ones. Characters like Ahsoka Tano show us there's a path outside the binary. She walked away from the Jedi, but didn't fall to the Sith. She chose her own moral compass and helped countless people without needing to conform to either extreme. It's proof the Force doesn't demand allegiance to a dogma. Even within the orders, cracks appear that let the light or the shadow through. Obi-Wan's compassion for Anakin, despite everything. Count Dooku's early desire to fight corruption before his fall. If those instincts had been nurtured instead of suppressed, maybe the galaxy would have avoided decades of war. The hope lies in the individuals who see the flaws in their own side and try to do better. People who value life over ideology and truth over tradition. It's not about being Jedi or Sith, it's about being free to choose. And maybe one day, the Force will be guided by those choices instead of chains. But history doesn't make optimism easy. The Jedi and Sith have been repeating this cycle for thousands of years. Rise, fall, rebuild, repeat. Always convinced that this time they'll get it right. And always blind to the fact that they're just playing the same game with a different paint job. The galaxy suffers for their stubbornness. Wars erupt, empires collapse, and the power vacuum just invites the next group of zealots to step in. Whether it's a republic under the Jedi, or an empire under the Sith, the result is the same ordinary people caught in the crossfire. Even when one side wins, it's temporary. The Sith dominate until their own betrayals undo them. The Jedi protect peace until their own arrogance invites disaster. It's a tragedy baked into their very foundations, and yet neither side seems capable of breaking free. The Jedi can't imagine a galaxy without their guidance. The Sith can't imagine a galaxy they don't control. It's two mirrors facing each other, reflecting the same flaws into infinity. Maybe the only real resolution is accepting the uncomfortable truth. The Jedi and Sith aren't opposites, they're just reflections. And until they see that, the galaxy will keep paying the price. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy my videos, please consider looking at my pinned comment and checking out the links for my Amazon storefront. It contains my favorite Legos, my gear in which I make videos, and comics that I read on a daily basis. I update it constantly, so please, take a moment and click on the link. On top of that, check out my second channel, Critical Analysis Hub Plus, and my third channel, Critical Analysis Hub XP. Just one click would go on a long way in supporting my channels and future in YouTube.